What you're about to see is one of the most outrageous scandals in South African policing history. A senior police general confiscates a massive haul of cocaine and secures it in a supposedly tamper-proof safe. But days later, the drugs mysteriously vanish. Today, at the Madlanga Commission, Brigadier Newswa dropped a bombshell confession that's leaving everyone speechless. He reveals how the safe at Port Shepstone was not broken into with an angle grinder like the thieves wanted people to believe. It was calmly opened with the original keys. Even more shocking? When Newswa pushed for an immediate investigation, it was swiftly shut down from the top. An eyewitness who saw the entire theft walked into the station to report it, only for senior officers to bury the statement and kill the case. This is the deep, rotten cancer inside the SAPS. Thank God for Lt Gen Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi, who is finally dragging these criminals into the door. Elite. If you support what General Mkhwanazi is doing to clean up the force, hit that like button, share this video, turn on the notification bell, and subscribe.
In July 2021, my vacation leave was cut short by the widespread civil unrest. General Senona informed me that General Lebiya wanted me to come back to deal with the civil unrest, which I did, given my experience in CATS. I headed the CATS team, tasked with the identifying the instigators of crime and working closely with the Director of Public Prosecution Office. I will give General Senona regular progress report in the investigation. I was working with the CATS team on daily basis. I had very little involvement in other cases at this time. I must also add here, Commissioner, that as a result of these cases, Head Office also gave us 4 members from the provinces which were not affected by this civil unrest. We had a sergeant from Eastern Cape, a sergeant from Limpopo, a warrant officer from Free State, and a lieutenant colonel from Northern Cape. These members, they remain in KwaZulu-Natal until the latter part of 2023 because these cases were very, very, very hard to solve. It wasn't like a daily crime that we were solving. We were going through the data, looking at the messages that the people had posted. There were emojis, and us as police officers, we didn't know what the interpretation of the emojis. I had to go to CSIR, the security section department of them, and asked the head to interpret, to find someone to interpret the emojis, and they assisted us. There were a lot of other things. We had to get the social media experts to give their expert opinion on what data that we have found. And we were working very closely with the DPP, and we were reporting on daily basis to the national head. The meeting will start at 4 o'clock and we'll finish whenever we finish. It included NPA, DPCI, General Detective, as well as Crime Intelligence. And we will also get the tasking from that meeting. The theft. Sometimes late in October 21, while I was on leave, I received a call from Lieutenant Colonel Prinsloo, who informed me that there was an attempted breaking at Port Shepstone DPCI premises. For the first time, he voiced concern about the safety of the suspected cocaine exhibit in the strong room. Although I was too concerned, I thought the drugs would be safe because General Senona had the keys and the safe could not be breached, and certainly not without being detected.
And what do you mean for the first time? Can you just explain that?
Because when I called him the first time to arrange the space, he never raised any concern to me about the security of the building. But when
Of the building,
as well as the safes.
If I'm correct, when he testified, I think he showed us several items of communication in which he communicated that the building was not safe, at least the building.
Yes.
The state of the alarm system and several other issues around the security of the building. And in this regard, he was communicating with the head office in Durban, if my recollection of the testimony is correct.
That's correct.
So your reference to the security of the open quote building, close quote, is at variance with what he said. And as I say, he actually showed us the items of communication. So your first cannot, subject to what you say, correctly relate to the building.
Yes, Commissioner. When I called him the first time, he never raised those concerns. And I'm saying now, then when there was this attempted, he then said to me, he's got his concern about the safety of the exhibit.
All right, thank you.
I called Lieutenant Kenneth Jacob.
Before you carry on, does that mean your answer? Does it mean you never became aware that there were concerns, not necessarily relating to these exhibits, but concerns about the security of in that building until there was a theft? You never became aware of that?
Commissioners, I was aware. The breaches that were there were not directed at the safe, were directed at the offices, and the safes are at in the very private space. Only members of the DPCI and employees will know where the safes are, not any private person. It was out of sight, and is still out of sight.
Thank you.
Sorry, Brigadier. So just to clarify, what you're saying is you knew about the concerns, the safety issues, at the time that you suggested the Port Shepstone premises be used to store the drugs.
Yeah.
But when you suggested it and it was approved by General Senona and you communicated that to Prinsloo, he didn't at that stage say to you, but there's a problem with the safety of this premises. That's what you mean?
That's what I'm trying to make.
Okay, but you were aware of it?
I was aware.
And then where you say, still in that paragraph 39, Brigadier, where you say, I too was concerned, I thought the drugs would be safe because General Senona had the keys and the safe could not be breached and certainly not without being detected. It's this last part that I want to understand when you say certainly not without being detected. What are you speaking to there?
I think I'll still come to that because during my time when I was there, the landlord, there was a space that the state was not renting. And the landlord will come during the working hours and we will have this talk with him and about the safe and everything. He will tell me how secure those safes are, and that those safes can never be accessed without the key.
Yes. Sorry, what I'm trying to understand is when you say without being detected, is it that there was a mechanism about the safe that would raise alarm? When you say it could not be breached without being detected, what would happen that would cause alertness that the safe is being breached?
There was no alertness. I concede it's an error on my part.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
I'm not sure that it's clear to me what you mean by detection without being detected. What exactly do you may have explained in response to Commissioner Baloyi, but what exactly do you have in mind when you say without being detected?
Commissioner, as I said, that the safes were out of the public eyes and only DPCI members and employees would know.
I hope this will not sound as if I'm probing, but seeing that you were aware that there were security concerns about, certainly about the building itself, so that should mean that as a result of those, or rather, those concerns stemmed from foreseen possibilities that the building could be broken into. Am I understanding the situation correctly?
At that moment, commissioners.
I'm talking about the building now, not the safes.
Yes, commissioners.
So you agree to?
Yeah, I do agree.
Yes. Now, if once somebody had broken into the building, they would then have all the time in the world to explore the building, not so?
It's true, commissioners.
And in so exploring the building, they could easily, or if not easily, but eventually find the safe or safes, correct?
It's true, commissioners, but also in that building, there are other very important documents.
Yeah, I'm just focusing on the safes and your point about and your point that it would not be easy to detect the safes. I've just established now if somebody has broken into the building and once inside they have time to walk around and that they may eventually find the safes. You have agreed to that.
I agree, but also, yes, Commissioner, I want to add, there were two safes next to one another.
Yes.
And outside, how will you know which safe contains what?
Let's just leave it. Your point was about detection, not any other issues, and I was just engaging you on detection, and you've agreed that eventually, once somebody had broken in, they could find the safes. I've established that. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Brigadier, I just want to take it a step further from what Chair is saying. You specifically say that your understanding was that the safe could not be breached and certainly not without being detected, meaning that if it was going to be breached or an attempt was going to be made to breach it, the person would be detected. You would be able to detect them whilst they are in the process of trying to breach the safe without the key. Because we want to understand what do you mean in that sentence where you say the safe could not be breached and certainly not without being detected. So is it they being detected in the process of the breach?
Yes, Commissioner.
So you're saying even if the person makes it to the safe, you would be able to detect them while they're in the process of trying to breach the safe. We just want to understand what do you mean?
From now, what I've seen, it was not possible.
It wasn't possible. What wasn't possible?
It was impossible to detect them. Hence, I'm saying I concede this is an error.
Okay, thank you. You may proceed.
Thank you, Commissioners. I called Lieutenant Jacob and told him to speed up the investigation, speed up the finalization of the investigation in order for the exhibit to be sent to FSL for destruction. If I recall correctly, Lieutenant Kenneth Jacob told me that he went to Amazimdoti FSL, but that they needed more samples. They informed him that they needed more samples and still did not have space for the exhibit. Lieutenant Kenneth Jacob also informed me that he contacted FSL in Pretoria to ascertain if they had space, but they did not. I also called Major General Senona and informed him about the attempted breaking at Port Shepstone DPCI SOC. I did this because, as a provincial head, he needed to know about the security breaches in the DPCI offices and the fact that he had the keys to the safe. I further told him that I informed Lieutenant Kenneth Jacob to speed up the investigation. The local elections were held on the 1st of November 2021. I was posted in Herikwala district to perform election duties in Kokstad. On the 2nd of November 2021, on my way back home, I stopped by the Margate police station and Port Shepstone DPCI offices. At the DPCI offices, I met with Lieutenant Colonel Prinsloo and Lieutenant Colonel Mkhwanazi. Lieutenant Colonel Mkhwanazi was the new team leader for NPVC at Port Shepstone, appointed in September 2021 from Gauteng province. We had a brief meeting and I left the office. I mention this because I have been informed that General Senona took issue that the fact that Lieutenant Colonel Prinsloo did not mention this meeting during his testimony at the commission. I am not sure why Lieutenant Colonel Prinsloo will not have mentioned this meeting, or why not mentioning the meeting is something of concern.
Please reread that. I don't think you read what's on there. I'm not sure.
I'm not sure why Lieutenant Prinsloo would have to mention this meeting, or why not mentioning the meeting is something of concern. Given that the meeting occurred a few days before the theft. I must say...
Sorry, Brigadier, can I just understand this? When you say I have been informed that General Senona took issue with the fact that Colonel Prinsloo did not mention this meeting, who informed you of this?
I was informed by the evidence leaders of the commission. I myself did not know, but luckily when they asked me, it was on my diary. I gave them a copy of my diary to say, yes, I was there.
So just to be clear, this is not a discussion you had with General Senona?
No, it wasn't a discussion we had with General Senona. And I still do not know how he found out about it, because I never told him about my visit to Port Shepstone. But the only thing I could say that if he was not told by Prinsloo, then he was told by Colonel Mkhwanazi. But also when you visit the office, there is a register that you sign.
Seeing that General Senona has this concern and even suspects that this may have something to do with the theft, do you want to tell us what the brief meeting was about?
Thank you, Commissioners. When I went there, Port Shepstone had a problem with CIT robberies, cash in transit robberies. And Colonel Mkhwanazi was the new NPVC team leader. I wanted to talk to them because I came from Herigwala, and Herigwala is one of their policing areas. I wanted him and Colonel Pristo, because they were having, there's a meeting that we have which is called CIT meeting, cash in transit meeting. We invite the stakeholders and we talk to them. They also assist us in speeding up these cash in transit robbery cases. So I wanted them to start engaging the district commissioners, one at Herigwala, which is the area of Port Shepstone, DPCI, and one at Uku, so that they can sit and find solution to the problem, because the vehicles were attacked coming from Kokstad on that road to Port Shepstone, especially in the afternoon. And that happened, and it really decreased the number of CIT in Port Shepstone for a while. And also, we discussed about the manpower. It's also in my diary, but I said human resources. Because when I was there, we had a staff of about 40, including the support services. But then, when in 2021, there were less than 20. And Course is Lieutenant Colonel Priestley. I call him by first name because we worked with him. I met him when he was a warrant officer in 2004. So he expressed concern about the personnel, that they don't have members. And I said I will look into that if there are posts available, but they must also try and recruit members around Port Shepstone to apply into the DPCI, because you cannot just take a person and bring in him. That was the meeting about. As I said, Commissioner, Lieutenant Colonel Mkhwanazi must have informed General Senona of the meeting. On the morning of the 8th November 2021, I received a call from Lieutenant Colonel Priestley, who informed me that the Port Shepstone DPCI office has been broken into, and entry gained through Warrant Officer BJ Pina's office. He said that suspected cocaine exhibit had been stolen, and the safe door had been cut by what looked to be a grinder to gain entry to the safe room. I told Lieutenant Colonel Priestley to secure the scene, call the local police and LCRC to attend to the crime scene. I called Colonel Jacob and informed him of the theft, and I told him to proceed to Port Shepstone since it was his stolen exhibit as the investigating officer of the initial seizure on the 22 June 2021. If I recall, Commissioners, where Pangase was the first investigator, and then Jacob also took over immediately in July. So he was the one that was investigating the matter. Thereafter, I went to General Senona's office to inform him about the theft, and he called the national head, Lieutenant General Lebia, the provincial commissioner, Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi, and the provincial head of crime intelligence, Major General Chika, and informed them of the theft. General Senona instructed me to attend to the scene with him. On our arrival at the scene, the crime scene, I conducted Brigadier Spear, the district detective commander, to inform him of the theft, since the theft occurred in his district, and he also came to the crime scene. I also called the district commissioner, Major General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi, to the crime scene because the crime happened in her district. She's a female as well. On the way to the crime scene, I also contacted the provincial crime scene management team, as their mandate is to attend to serious and complex crime scenes. Given this was a theft of suspected cocaine exhibit from the police custody, I considered it to be a serious crime warranting their attendance. This team arrived at the same time as General Senona and me. Lieutenant Colonel Prinsloo briefed us at the scene, and I noticed that Captain Van Wyk from the local criminal record center was also on the crime scene. Captain Van Wyk did a walkthrough with the provincial crime scene management team, who took over the crime scene, and Captain Van Wyk left. I also activated the provincial tracking team, but they never arrived. I was informed that they went to town in an attempt to obtain information relating to the theft. I must state that when I observed the scene, I was shocked that the safe had been breached, but more than that, I was skeptical that the safe had been breached by the grinding the door. I would have expected the DPCI investigators to have investigated the possibility that the scene was staged and obtained an expert opinion on whether the cuts out that we observed could have indeed resulted in the safe being breached. To date, I am not aware of any such report being obtained by the investigators.
What was your skepticism based on?
I did not get you, Commissioner.
You were saying that you were skeptical that the safe had been breached by grinding the door. So I'm saying, or rather I'm asking, what was your skepticism based on? Why were you skeptical?
Earlier on, Commissioner, I said that I had the owner of the landlord told us that this safe could never be breached without a key. So that caused my skepticism.
All right, thank you.
What is your suspicion? Because now you leave us guessing. I don't think you've quite answered Chair's question. Because you are saying you are skeptical that it could have been breached this way. So you might still be coming to it later. I don't know, but what is your suspicion? Because you say also here that you believe that it was staged.
I suspected it to be staged because I was under the impression that those strong rooms can never be accessed without a key.
Had the owner ever explained this view?
Yes. He used to come to the office, we will talk. He was an old man, very friendly.
Did he explain why he said?
He used to say it's a state-of-art strong room. But then I would have expected that this needed to be investigated further so that what the landlord said can be proved or disapproved.
All right.
Can I ask a more direct question? Is it your suspicion, let me not call it a belief, is it your suspicion that the safe was opened first and the grinding happened after? Because reading between the lines, that's what it looks like you are saying here. And I could be wrong, so I need you to clarify that.
Commissioners, I'm not the expert. Hence, I'm saying, if we can get people who are experts in safes, they can clarify that.
Certainly, thank you.
During During the course of the day, there were scheduled interviews for the appointment of Lieutenant Colonel. General Senona and I returned to the office for those interviews, as well as scheduled civil unrest virtual meeting chaired by General Lebiya. As I stated, Commissioners, every day we almost had those meetings around about 4 o'clock. And on this day too, there was the scheduled interviews for lieutenant colonels. To the best of my recollection, the theft docket was given to Brigadier Newswa because General Senona suggested that General Detective investigate the matter until a final decision is made by senior management.
Sorry, Brigadier, can you just tell us what is General Detectives?
Okay. General Detectives are detectives from the SAPS because we are the Hawks and the motherboard, we call them motherboard, they've also got General Detectives.
So General Senona had suggested that the detective from SAPS conduct the investigation. Is that
Initially, yes.
Initially, okay.
Brigadier Sibiya that you're referring to here and Jones, were they from the SAPS therefore?
Yes. Brigadier Newswa was the district commander for detectives who appointed Sergeant Jones.
Okay. Thank you.
Or Warrant Officer Jones. Brigadier Sibiya was instructed to appoint a detective to investigate the matter. I later learned that Warrant Officer Jones was appointed as the investigator. On the 18th of November 2021, I met the then Deputy National Head of the DPCI, Lieutenant General Mosikile, and she informed me that the docket had been taken from the Port Shepstone detective and that it will be assigned to an investigator from the DPCI head office. This meant that the DPCI head office will be investigating the case.
Brigadier, in other words, DPCI would be investigating itself.
That's correct.
Okay.
Thereafter, I was introduced to Colonel Mojela and Captain Mashao as the investigating officers. Colonel Mojela used to work with General Senona at Gauteng DPCI. He was subsequently promoted to the rank of a brigadier and appointed to the same position as me in Northern Cape. I cooperated with the investigators. I was aware that the DPCI members were subjected to polygraph examination as part of the investigation, but I was not called for the polygraph examination. However, I recall that during that time, I was busy with the civil unrest matters and not involved at all with the Port Shepstone theft investigation. I do not know why I was not subjected to a polygraph test, but I would have taken it if so required, and I'm still prepared to take the test.
Brigadier, did you, my recollection of General Senona's evidence on the polygraph test is that he requested that all his subordinates be subjected to a polygraph test. You would have been one of those.
That's correct.
Did you ever become aware that he made that kind of a general request which would have included you?
No, commissioners.
Okay. Thank you.
55.
In March 2025, an information note was prepared and sent to General Lebiya. No report back was given on the main allegation of serious corruption, but during the course of the investigation, it was discovered that Warrant Officer Sanda had not declared his directorship in a shooting club. He received a verbal warning and the matter was closed. To date, there has been no outcome on the investigation regarding the allegation of serious corruption. I did not get any feedback from General Senona regarding the outcome of Warrant Officer Sanda's matter. At some point, Warrant Officer Sanda came to me to speak to me about the returning to Soki. I told him that I would speak to General Senona, who agreed that Warrant Officer Sanda would return to Soki, but not to Sanap. General Senona said Warrant Officer Sanda must go to EPR. I communicated this to Warrant Officer Sanda as instructed by General Senona, and Warrant Officer Sanda was moved from the support service to EPR. I reiterate to the Commission that I had nothing to do with the Port Shepstone theft, and I hope that my evidence will be of assistance to the Commission. I just want to read further that I reiterate that I had nothing to do with the Port Shepstone theft. As testified by Warrant Officer Sanda and Lieutenant Colonel Jacob, there is a credible evidence on the identity as to who is behind the theft. I have no association with that person. There was a person that came to Durban office and gave information about it, and he was taken to senior officers, and DPCI investigators were told about this person. In the inside, perhaps I should not have suggested the Port Shepstone premises, but as a former unit commander, I was confident that the safe could be accessed with the keys. Once General Senona took both keys, this gave me the further assurance that the exhibit would be safe in the strong room, because the provincial head would be the only person with the both set of keys to secure the exhibit. To surely the exhibit will be, so surely the exhibit will be safe. That's my statement, Commissioners. Signed today.
I have a clarity-seeking question, but perhaps let's take the adjournment now and resume.